Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I'm here with you with another What Would You Make? I got these boxes when my mom passed away. These were some that she had gotten for awards for being at the company for many years. And look at how grungy these boxes are. They have been through the mill, haven't they? So I just came in and I went ahead and sanded them really well and got all the funk off the front and off the sides and just cleaned them up the best I could. And then I came in with a damp cloth and I wiped them down. Once I get it all wiped down, I just wanted to make sure I had all that dust off of it. I set it aside and I let it dry. I had taken off the hinges and the closure because they were really yucky. They were just nasty. So I'm using some of this Power Wash by Dawn, and I'm using an old electric toothbrush that I use to clean like shower and grout and stuff like that. Look at how dirty just those two hinges were on that one. Oh my goodness. So I went ahead and just continued on with that toothbrush and I polished up all of those with that Dawn Power Wash, and then I rinsed it real well. Once those were all done and dry, I came in with some metal polish, and it's the stuff I use on like my silver and stuff. So, but it's just a metal and plastic fiberglass polish. Simple, works great. I just wanted to clean these up just a little bit so that they didn't look so bad. And it didn't take me too awful long, but I just came in there with a Q-tip, polished it a little bit, used that toothbrush again on all of those pieces and even those little screws. When they were all done, I set them aside and let them dry. Now we're going to move right on to the next part, and I'm going to go ahead and get some air dry clay into some of these molds here. Now my clay was a little harder than it normally is, so I did add a little bit of water to my hands as I manipulated it, and then I just fed it right on into this mold, put some water across the top, and then used my razor blade to smooth it out. You can see here it just smooths nicely. Once you get that moisture on there, that air dry clay comes right back to life. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the freezer for 30 minutes. Once they come out super easy, and here we have it. Now I'm going to go ahead and use some of my Titebond Quick and Thick, put it on the back of those, and then lay it right on down on top. Now you see me putting it on the curved one. I changed that because that small piece fits perfectly in that other lid. So you see how I just switched that out, and I'm going to go ahead and put the larger piece on top of the curved lid. And I'm just going to rub that Titebond Quick and Thick, lay it on there, and then I'm going to put that other little piece that broke right on up next to it with some Quick and Thick. And that dries. I'm going to set them aside, and that's going to dry just perfect. No problems there. It's not going to have any issues. Now I'm going to come in with that dragonfly. I took a piece of tin foil, rolled it up to create a little arm, and put some cling wrap over it. Actually, that's press and seal. I wanted to make a little arm here so I could tilt my wings of my little dragonfly so that they weren't laying flat. I wanted them to be able to dry upwards a little bit. And to do that, I needed to have something under there that was not going to stick. So the piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and just glue that down to the back side of that lid, and that holds that right in place, no problem. And I'm going to come in here and just prop up my dragonfly and set it aside and let this dry. Once those are dry, I'm going to come on in and I'm going to give these a paint. I'm going to use my Waverly Chalk White paint, and I'm going to cover these boxes all over with a good coat of this white chalk paint. I had to come back in with a smaller detailed brush to get into those little openings because I just couldn't get in there, and I didn't want that wood base to be showing through. The clay's already dries white, but I wanted to make sure it had a good coverage throughout the rest. Now I want to coat it with some Mod Podge to give it a good coating to keep that chalk paint sealed in there. This is also going to give my air dry clay another coat of stabilizing, sealing that in there. It's going to help that dragonfly be stronger. Here I used my rice paper, and I found some dragonflies on creativefabrica.com, and I cut one out here to 2 inches, and I knew it would fit perfectly on top of that dragonfly clay mold that I had used. So now I'm just going to come in with some Mod Podge, and I'm going to lay that rice paper right on over that dragonfly, and it will look like I hand painted this little bugger. And I didn't, because I don't have the steady hand. So shh, don't tell anybody. I knew the mold was 2 inches, so when I printed my dragonfly, I just sized it to the 2 inch mark, and then printed it on my rice paper from my inkjet printer, and then went ahead and trimmed that out and laid on. Look at how perfectly it just lays on there. It did not take much effort at all. You know, lift up your wing, lay down that glue, and then some glue right over the top, some Mod Podge right over the top of that. And oh my goodness, I really love the way this turned out. It was so easy to do. I was concerned because I knew it would be very detailed, but it was not hard. I really like the way that turned out. So give it a try. Let me know if you guys ever give this a try. We do it with butterflies or dragonflies or bumblebees. I just thought this would be the best way to paint it and have the same look over all my box. So I went ahead and added the hinges back on, and that's when I went ahead and added the rest of my little rice paper dragonflies all over this little box. I just wanted to remind y'all, this is part of our What Would You Make collaboration. Our hosts are Christine with Divine Design, Brenda with Rustic and Lace DIYs, and our guest host this month is Leslie with Happy Tuesday. Guys, check out the playlist in the description box below. I will leave the host channels down there as well. And as you can see here, I'm doing it the hard way. I laid down my little decal there first, and then I came in and tried to cut it. Well, guys, I'm going to say, let's not do as I do, but let's do as I say. And let's cut this first, and then lay it down. But here I go again. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. I'm going to come back in with my little razor blade, and I'm going to slice it open there. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. I do learn, I think after this one, I do learn that it's just better to come in and cut it and then line them up, because they don't all cut that nicely. It is a new razor blade, so that does help. But you see here, I'm going to come in, I'm going to just cut that in half, and then I'm going to lay the bottom piece down, and the top piece is going to match right on up. And now I can just lay my Mod Podge, spread it out there around the corners and the tops and the bottom. I can just lay my rice paper right on top of there, and I don't have to worry about trying to cut it, because sometimes it's this rice paper, which is called mulberry paper, it tends to have some long strings in it at times, because it will pull and it'll give you that frayed edge nicely, but sometimes that makes it difficult to cut. Now, to tear, I should say. Now, I went ahead and I did 2 boxes. I did the one with the purples and the blues, and then I am doing this one with the rose and the golds. Guys, they both turn out so pretty. You're gonna have to let me know which one is your favorite, because I just had a hard time making up my mind. I love them both, and for different reasons. So I went ahead and did the same thing here. These are images off of creativefabrica.com. I used my print to size on my tablet, and I uploaded those pictures into the print to size. I edited them to the size I wanted for these boxes, and then I was able to trim them out, and they fit perfectly on here. I'm not going to show you all the Mod Podging because this was a very long, tedious process, but those were the boxes. And on to project number 2. Now I went ahead and pulled out some of these old ribbon holders here. Now this is a tissue roll because I needed something smaller, and so I went ahead and trimmed that down, cut it, and glued those pieces back together. Now I made something like this type of thing in another video, but I wanted to create a wooden basket, and so I'm using the little wooden sticks there. They're about the size of toothpicks, except they're square. I went ahead and just drew around this ribbon tube and then came in with my X-Acto knife and cut that off. The larger, wider is going to be the top of my basket, and the smaller one is going to be the bottom of my basket, so that it opens up to a wider lid, wider opening on top. I'm going to take these little wooden pieces and I'm going to just hot glue them onto the inside of that tissue roll first, and I'm going to go ahead and just glue them across from each other and put 4 on there, and then I'm going to come in and put 4 more in between those. And I did it this way so that I knew that they were spaced evenly apart and I wouldn't have to worry about not having them spaced evenly. Once I get them all attached to the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and bring that larger ring over and slide it down over the tip to create the top of this basket. So you see here it fits over there nicely, and now I can come in and glue those to the inside rim of the top ring of this basket. So once I get those all on there, I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra wood pieces. You don't want it coming up all over the top of that. And I wanted to make sure we had a good bottom to this basket, so I went ahead and used this Titebond Quick and Thick and laid over some of those sticks over the bottom. Once they were set on there properly and I had the width I wanted, I let it sit until they were completely dry, and then I can come back in and trim them. So I'm going to go ahead and trim those off just like I did the top. And then once that is all done, I'm going to go ahead and just hit it with the sandpaper to make sure there's no rough edges. This is the Sola wood. I've created flowers out of these before, and it's real fun to work with, but it can be very fragile. I'm wetting it here so that I can move it around a little bit without it tearing on me. Now it can be very fragile, so I went ahead and trim those pieces off to like 1/4 inch thickness, and then I'm going to weave it in and out of these sticks. I'm going to go over a couple bars, go under one, go over a couple and under one, and then each row is going to be a little like that, but it's going to be offset. I wanted this to look like an old wooden basket. I didn't want this to be perfect. I wanted it to look like it was on the verge of splitting open and falling apart. Because if you ever go to like an old a farmer's market, and some of the baskets that are out may be old because they've used them for a while, and that's what I wanted this to look like. I didn't want this to look crisp, clean, and pristine. I wanted this to look like it had been well loved and well used. So I just went all the way down at this basket. It took 4 rows to cover the entire thing. And then I went ahead and covered those ribbon rolls and the tissue roll with the Sola wood as well. So I wanted to have this all wood edge because you do have that little bit of wood grain in there. Went ahead and used my Titebond Quick and Thick and laid this across the bottom, and I didn't weave it in and out of those. It didn't matter to me. It was going to be on the bottom, but I did want it to have that wood look as well, so that weaved look. So I just laid it on there. Now here are some flowers that I've made in the past, and I wanted to show you. I've used punches. Now I'm going to link the videos in the description box below on how I made these flowers out of punches. And you see I have these here with the little tiny ones made out of those, and then I use the hearts to make those roses. And so I'm coming in and I'm just using that antique wax on my sticks because I went ahead and covered that basket with it as well. And once the wax was dried, I came in and used some Mod Podge over the whole thing just to give it some more stability. And it's sitting there drying as I'm going to go ahead and cover these stems on these little roses that I've created. And once those are dry, we're going to go ahead and create a little flower basket here. Now this is just some air dry clay that I actually used to create some apples in apple leaves in one of my videos, and I had some extra, so I'm just going to come in and I'm going to load my roses now into this basket, and I'm going to create a little basket flower arrangement that is, look at how stinking cute this is turning out. So I'm just going to continue filling this basket, and you will see the final reveal at the end of this video. I know it's super fast, guys, but there was a lot of detail in these projects. On to number 3. This one's simple. I used the 7-inch round that I had gotten from, I believe this was from Walmart. They were only $1 a piece. And so I went ahead and I had some labels still stuck on there, so I just cleaned it off. And then I'm going to come in and just sand the edges because, you know, when you're getting a little 7-inch circle from Walmart, it's not perfect. So I wanted to just sand it and have it nice and smooth. I'm going to use my matte Mod Podge here, and I'm going to take this beautiful dress. You see that little dress down there in the corner there? I wanted to use that on the box, but it just did not fit into what I was creating. And I was just like, oh, I love that image. It's just beautiful. So I'm like, I'm going to do it on this wood round, and I think it turned out cute. So I went ahead and just printed it out to be 7 inches, and then I added a background to it so that I could just lay it over the top of this natural wood. So I didn't want to paint it white because I wanted it to look like it was vintage. I did use hairspray over the top of my image there so that hopefully it wouldn't bleed as I was putting the Mod Podge over the top of it. And it does bleed a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. I did let it dry. I had sprayed that down right after it came out, and it had plenty of time to sit and dry. But I just went ahead and just went on with my business here, and I used my little paper towel there. You can see how it's just blending a little bit in those roses down at the bottom, but I didn't care. So I just used my finger there to kind of tap and lift up any extra, and it seemed to help blur that where it was bleeding pretty good, so I wasn't worried about it. So once I did this, I came in and I just trimmed off the edges. Because it was damp from the Mod Podge, it pulled off easy, but I had to be really careful because it was still wet and I didn't want this to tear. But you can see the fibers in that paper. So if it's not, that's why you have to be careful, because it will pull, and that fiber, if it's going through your image, it will pull that whole image. So I went ahead and pulled out some of my pearls, and I had some pearl trim I had gotten from Michael's many moons ago in their wedding section, and so I measured it out to go around this 7-inch circle. I added some of my Titebond Quick and Thick, and now I'm using hot glue in between those areas. The Titebond Quick and Thick is going to help hold these plastic beads onto this wood round permanently, and this hot glue is going to help hold it in place so that that can actually dry and hold its form. The easiest way for me to do this was to put that Titebond on there. Now, yes, it does dry fairly quick, but not too quick that I didn't have time to get the hot glue down. So I find that this is the easiest way for me to do that, and it's less worrisome for me. And I can just come all the way around there and lay these pearls right on down into that hot glue, and this will all dry nice and even. I started on the side because I didn't want to start on the top or the bottom, because that's usually a very obvious area to start. And so if I start on the side, you don't see it right away, and my beads actually line up pretty perfect. So I just went ahead and trimmed that off there, Added that blob of hot glue, just a dab right there will do ya, and then push it right on down. Now for the hanger on this, I went ahead and pulled out another longer piece of this pearl, and I'm going to put some hot glue on the bottom, and I'm going to lay both bottom pieces touching each other to look like it has not been cut. And now I'm going to come up the edge there with my glue, and then I'm going to come in with my hot glue, and that is where I'm going to just pull that up far enough to stop and actually become the hanger for this piece. You see there? Up both sides and glued down. Now I want to lay another piece right along the top where the hanger stopped on both sides. Oh my goodness, I can't talk. So once again, the Titebond and the hot glue will lay this down in between where both of those pieces come up and create my hanger for this piece. I really love this. It turned out so cute. It's so beautiful. So after I trimmed that off and had that all laid in there, I added some more of these flowers. I added some of these flowers that I had made and had them in my stash, and it looks like I created them just for this project. I love being able to have stuff like this made up and just it's there, it's ready, and they're so fun to sit and make, and that's mindless crafting right there. When you're doing paper punch flowers, it's just, I love it. This turned out so nice. I went ahead and came in with some beads, the bead trim there, and I just trimmed some off, and I just wanted it to be on top of where I had glued those flowers down, and I didn't want that to be seen, all the strings in there where I had attached those flowers. So I just added a little hot glue, rolled that bead right on in place. All right, y'all, here are my little projects for What Would You Make? I have the little boxes here. I'm going to start with this one because I'm going to have Joe open it for you. I went ahead and I painted the inside of that with those purple, blues, and pinks to match that beautiful dragonfly. And then on this side, I have the beautiful roses, and he's fired. And look at the inside of that one. Oh, I just think it turned out pretty. Joe, unclose it, silly. Okay, so my Vanna White's fired. Of course, I have my basket with my roses, and I have my wood circle with my dress. Guys, let me know what you think about these products. And should I give Vanna another try?
Yes.
Thank you all so much for spending time with me today as I create these beautiful wood projects for you. And thank you for joining me and taking your time out of your day to watch my videos. I really do appreciate it. If you like this type of material, please give me a thumbs up. And if you've enjoyed this and decided to stick around, hit that subscribe button. If you want to know when I've uploaded a new video, hit that bell notification, and YouTube should notify you when my next video has gone live. As always, guys, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.